In the meeting, and I need to record this. Meeting to record this. Oh, wow. Okay, we are kicking things off with episode 7.
Yes.
How are you? Welcome to the Unpacked podcast.
Yes. Welcome, welcome. Kendall, I'm good. The strength, for some reason, I wanted to ask you what is going on in DC, selfishly because I want to say what's going on in Houston. But I thought you go first. Tell me, what's I don't know, what's anything popping in DC? It's kind of a scary question to answer with your location, but
It's a loaded question. I think there's a lot going on in Washington, D.C. On a positive note, I will say that finally winter has left and we're getting some spring weather. And
no way.
one of the best things about DC is DC in the spring and the summer. So
Yeah.
people are coming, they're unthawing, they're coming out of the freezers, and they're hitting the streets in Daisy Dukes and headed to rooftops, patios, and all the above. So that's a really wonderful thing that's happening in DC. Other than all that other stuff, that's another podcast episode. What's
Yeah.
them?
We're in the playoffs. Ah, go us, go us. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't followed I've got Houston pride all around, but I haven't followed the sports, well, the Rockets anyways, in a while. But when you start driving down the street and you see folks with their own like pop-up tent selling merch that they made, you're like, oh, something is happening. And then my castmate was like, oh, I'm going to the game tomorrow. I was like, we must be winning something. Is it the playoffs? And I learned that we've been playing the Golden State Warriors, which I'm super impressed by because they're a very good team. And we won the game last night. So I'm excited to see what happens. Go Rockets, Houston Rocket. Oh,
You know the kind of the score in terms of the games, like Houston's won this many, Golden State's won this many. Do you know?
no, and I could have looked it up.
Go Colts. No, go. I pray that the Rockets they bring one home. I feel like
God, I hope they do.
they have won enough, and I feel like it's time for Houston to win.
Yes, they have. Um, I was reminded of the sports, not only because of what I said, but because of the word sports ball. Do you ever say sports ball? I really like sports ball.
No, but I will always say I have nephews that play sports a lot, and I will always say, "How was your rehearsal?" And they'll get mad.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about, Kendall? Uncle Kendall.
Yeah, that one's pretty bad, Kendall. Sports ball is better than rehearsal, my gosh.
Sports ball? That's so general.
I know. That's why I love it. Because it's like, oh, did you see the sports ball game? And it just gives people the opportunity to say whatever. Anywho, that's that. Sports ball, we're winning ish, maybe. I don't know because I didn't. I just hope we win. And then I'll have all my Rockets gear.
But also, sports ball or sports ball, really quickly, also sounds like a sport of the future that's yet to come. It's like once once all the countries, once we become one global nation, there will be one sport, and it will be called sports ball, and that's the only thing that people will be allowed to play. It's giving Hunger Games.
Well, now it's given 1984. Did you say that?
Uh,
Yeah.
all right. So speaking of all things dismal, and all things yet to come, we do a lot of flashbacks in this episode of If You Tell a Story Well Enough, episode 7 of
Mhm.
Good American Family. What's your initial take, reaction? How are you feeling?
I enjoyed I loved seeing Dule. Um and I don't know, it's kind of like ish is getting real. It was getting real the last time, but now you got all the cooks in the kitchen. It's like, oh, what's really about to pop off? Um I thought about what we say every week of what would you title this episode. I didn't go back and revisit Kindle, but I have Love Shack written down.
Love that. Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think when we begin to unpack, it'll start making more sense. At least I hope. But I just remember, you know what? It was probably that man in the kitchen. That's probably what it was in the very beginning. Just like, it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Just oblivious. Bless his heart. I don't know. It may not be the best title, but that's what I got when I was preliminarily thinking about it.
I like the title. I like it. I think if I were gonna name this episode, I would call it Unpacking the Battle.
The battle.
The battle.
Mm,
Because there are so many battles being fought on so many different fronts by so many different people, from
yeah.
specialists to the doctors to the judges to the lawyers to the
Yeah.
family. I mean, the battles, unpacking the battle. Maybe there's a better way to say that, but this is like just the Warriors came out to the Warriors, Golden State Warriors. The Warriors came out to play, and they are taking no one is taking prisoners. No one is taking prisoners. You know,
Battle of the Barnetts.
well,
Barnett battle.
Barnett back. Well, the man's,
Oh yeah. Okay. I got nothing.
yeah, battle for independence. I don't know. So
Yeah.
things off, and we see Natalia. We're doing the flashback thing again, but actually now it's all coming to a head. Maybe this is called unpacking the timeline. Maybe that's a little bit.
Yeah. We did flip quite a bit.
They did. It's some somersaults. But we start off with basically Natalia flashing back and telling the detective that she wants to testify against the Barnetts. And she starts to remember a very important time in her life. And I couldn't understand where she was at first. I'm like, is she we see Natalia on a bed with a little girl in a room. And I'm like, is she in an orphanage? Is she in a mental asylum? Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? And so she's actually with another child her age, and she's telling a very, very scary story, which I think is very ironic. But in the moment that she tells the story and gets to the climax, someone busts through the door. Well, she does happen to be in a mental hospital, an insane asylum. And the nurse busts in and says, you know what? You're not a child. Are not supposed to be in this ward. We've gotten paperwork, and now it's time to move you from the kids section to the adult section. And Natalia is shook.
She is, and like usual, we've gotten so used to seeing her pleading. No, no. Who do I have to talk to tell them? Wait, what? I'm a kid. Like, this is my friend. Please don't move me. And it was uh, haunting to see her walk down the aisles as she's moving from the kids wing to the adult wings, passing adults. Oh my God. That was the first time I even imagined that. It's like, it's one thing to say, oh, and they moved her into the adult wing. No, no, they moved her to the adult wing, meaning adults are walking around looking at her like, who are you? What's your name? What you doing here?
Yeah.
And they put her in a room with a woman who's strapped to the bed.
He's restrained. He's
Yeah.
and notice we said he is restrained, not she. So they placed
I
her.
think that was a woman.
You think that was
I
a
think that was a woman.
got a hard
Yeah. At first I thought about that too, but I think that was a woman. And they would have been breaking all the rules if they had put her in the room with a woman and with a man. But yeah, it was scary. And she asked for Hercules. She says, I cannot sleep without Hercules. And then I've come to understand that Hercules is her bunny. So that's when she was referring to him. She can't sleep without him. And the lady, you can tell she's there to do her job, but she's also conflicted because she's like, listen, girl, this is not like the kids wing. They're not going to give you a warning, okay? You mess up and they're going to restrain you. You need to take heed to what I'm telling you. Do what I say, because the next person that comes behind me, you're going to have to do what they say. Um, and I was really happy that that was all that we had to see up in there, Kendall, because I was like, oh dear God. Um,
The real life, the records that come from that time of Natalia's life that have been made public are just not that pretty. So I
yeah, yeah.
need to.
So she's back with Drisdale is his name because I've done called him Duquesne, Dufresne, Duchovny. It's Detective Drisdale and Cynthia in some interrogation situation. Of course, he's always recording. And Cynthia does not like hearing Natalia talk about her pain. Um it's very interesting because on one hand it's like she wants to get to the bottom of it, and you get the fact that you understand that she wants to be an advocate and is in a lot of ways advocating for Natalia right now, but in my mind I'm like, woman, we got to get through all of this. We've got to hear the man has got to pick this apart, but she doesn't like feeling like Natalia is hurting in any kind of way. And so Dule stops the recording. He's like, okay, look, I know this is painful. I know this is hard, but you just uncracked something for us. And Natalia's like, really? I did what? She was like, I now know that the Barnetts got you re-aged while you were in a psych ward. You didn't have a lawyer. There was no judge. You couldn't speak for yourself. You didn't even know you didn't have due process. And talk about due process in the country right now. But we just have to show that they didn't give you a voice. That's his quote. And that just spoke volumes. It's like, yes, because this girl has not had a voice this entire time, which is why it's so important that she's in front of this camera right now, being able to, tell her story. Um, can I just clock one thing here, Kendall? Did you notice all the soda pop? I almost thought about naming the episode soda pop. Why was there so much soda? Are they sponsors?
No, I think that goes to show. Well, first of all, and I think in Indiana people consume a lot of pop, as they call it. But at the same time, I think it just shows. It goes to show if Natalia Grace was older, maybe that would have been a lot of alcohol around that table. She's very nervous and she's very fidgety and she's very young. So I think that was just to indicate her level of like anxiety around the whole issue. She's super anxious, and probably her mother Cynthia was having some too.
There was also donuts. They were everybody there had, and there's more scenes coming with beverages. And I said soda pops. I never say pop or soda pop. I say soda. But I just was like, oh, this is a good time to talk about pop because I know is that what you call it, or is that just what Indiana calls it? Do you call it?
Indiana calls it pop, but I think it's a Midwest thing. I think this,
Yeah, it's a Midwest. But
yeah,
do you say pop?
no, because I went to school in Howard in the East Coast, and then I moved to the West Coast, so that vernacular has been beaten out of me. I say soda. I don't say pop. Yeah, but I that's what they say in the Midwest.
Well, I clocked that Dule was having a Dr. Pepper and the ladies were having two 7-Ups. That's all.
So now that we this is the catharsis of the entire events to come is this detective's diligence and wanting to get to the bottom and give Natalia a voice. So now we transpose ourselves and we're back with the Barnetts. But the Barnetts are not in Indiana. They are in Canada. And
Yeah.
that they are living their best life, they're living their best life. We have, as you pointed out earlier, Michael in the kitchen being Chef Boyardee, loving his family, making breakfast. They all seem very annoyed by him, just like he's just there.
Yes.
The son is not very interested. The wife is not interested because she has a bestseller. She's on the phone with her agent. She's living her best life. And we all, now it's revealed, he now has another job. He's working at T-Mobile as well.
Yes. And similar to Kendall, you remember when we would look at those B-rolls or montages, I should say, and the song was like la da 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 da, all uplifting and encouraging, but the footage was not. This was another way of them using that same style, I guess, because he's narrating something fabulous, and everybody is like, okay, yeah, okay, Dad. Christine is moving about the cabin. He's talking about this amazing new job he has. And then we can see that he has a T-Mobile shirt on, which obviously is no shade to T-Mobile, but based on his last job, you surmise, or I guess that he is working like the counter. Like you don't get that he's the boss like he was at Circuit City. Um, and he's grinning from ear to ear, grinning from ear to ear, and no one else in the home is. And I love this line that he says, Christine and I were in a second honeymoon, even though she was on the honeymoon without me. I was like, what is this man?
Cognitive dissonance is what's
Yes.
yeah. He's not. He's lit. But you know what? He feels like he's done his job. He's slayed this dragon, and now he's getting the
Yeah.
fruit of his labor. Natalia is gone, so now he's getting everything that he wants to. He has this new job. He's making breakfast for his family. Christine's career is going great. His son is working on his PhD. And then he goes out to check the mail. Well, you know what? Some good things come to mail, but a lot of times when you check the mail, you like, first of all, how did they get my address? Who are these people? What do they want? And when he checks the mail, it is a letter from the court, from the courthouse.
Yep.
And the letter is interested in doing something really specific. And this is how you know Michael is not so smart because he goes in and he reads the letter to Christine. Christine is busy, but she's like, what? Her mood changes. And he says, it looks like they're trying to like the man, this new family is trying to become Natalia's legal guardian. And he's like, oh, that's a good thing. That's great. Like, yeah, we can finally really put this behind us. And I don't know how many times in this episode has somebody said without saying, Michael, are you stupid? Because that actually happens a lot throughout this episode.
Women keep checking in on him to say, is everything all right in there?
Are you okay? Are you home? So this is actually, Michael, this is not a good thing. Do you not see what's going on here? Because A plus B equals C. So what did she say, Michelle?
Do you see why she goes, do you understand that if they are her guardian, that they would be the guardians of a child, that her age would change? Do you know why that would be bad for us? Because then we would be accused of being abandoning a child, which they did. But yes, no, that was one of several times that that's going to happen, at least twice in this episode. But I wanted to go to speak to your point, Kendall, about him just not being that smart. I don't know how else to say it. When he's talking on his little role of his highlight reel, let's call it. He says, and Rosalind Pike was going to play Christine, and Christine was looking fine. And then he pops her on the booty and says, we were done and doneer. And I said, what is going on here? What? I don't know if they are have just decided to completely make fun of this character, or Kendall, he really did, I think, the actor drop into the most Michael version of Michael. Because you've seen that thing from the start to finish. He talks like that. He says, we're done and doneer. What are you talking about? And then I wrote down like an ignorant, optimistic doofus. That's how he comes off. Um, and he keeps wanting to put this bow, that if that was another title, put a bow on it. He kept trying to put a bow on. We thought we could finally put Natalia behind us. And then he reads the letter and is still trying to put a bow on it. And Christine has to break it down for him. I'm done. There's going to be even more of these doofusy moments that I have written down throughout the thing. And I just thought, it's a choice that they're making, and they're trying to paint everybody in some kind of light, and he's fallen into this doofus light in this episode, where before I was like, okay, come on, brother. But now it's like, oh gosh, what is wrong?
I think I wrote, and I was gonna say this a little bit later, but I wrote that, Ellen Pompeo is acting her butt off. But I said the character that's playing Michael, he should be at least nominated for an Emmy because he's playing Michael. He's
He's playing Michael.
playing Michael. Like the whole thing. I'm like, oh, you are getting the essence of that doofus thing.
Yes, yes.
And we know people like this, and you always ask yourself, like, are you that dense? I think that's a nice way to say it. Like, are you that dense that you just think everything is an oversimplification of things?
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you in this moment. We're gonna see this throughout the entire episode. So now we launch into, Christine has told him this is not good. Handle it. And
Yeah.
well, I mean, I was gonna handle it, but aren't we supposed to have some time alone? And she says, you can't touch this. She's MC Hammer. Can't touch this until you handle what you're supposed to handle. So this is another key point of showing who people are. And Christine leverages everything. And
Yes, she does.
leveraging sex against her husband to get what she wants. Interesting.
Yes. And you can see him even in his dense cloud, I shall say, you can see him understand that that's what's happening.
Mhm.
That every ounce of kisses and hugs and sex, if he's so lucky, is conditional, and it's only offered if he's doing exactly what she wants him to be doing, and if the stars align in his favor, child. Bless his heart.
That's a long mile to run. Like you said it. If the stars align and I'm doing everything, woo!
Yeah, yeah. And
Now.
he's trying so hard. Bless his heart.
So, but we go into a montage now, which is one of my favorite things about this episode. And we see Michael start to play a game. And for over 3 years, Michael is responding to this court hearing, this document, back and forth, back and forth. They would send something, he would send something. And it's the same document back and forth, basically saying, we are the guardians, them saying, we want to be the guardians, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for 3 years. All the while during this montage, which I love, they play The Middle by Jimmy Eat World, which is such a classic early 2000s song. It just takes some time. Classic. I thought it was perfect because that is the kind of song that has this cognitive dissonance that you're just like going along with emotions. And after 3 years, his bubble is burst because they win a court hearing. And now they've got to go to court.
Yes. And he gets this news and is like, well, let me go on and tell Christine. He goes inside to tell Christine. She can't be bothered, child. She's got her head in the sink and got some Romeo looking man washing her hair ever so tenderly, child. And Michael's like, excuse me, can I borrow my wife for a moment? And she's like, Michael, what is it? I don't know the guy's name. He came to take care of me because I can't get into the shop. And he's like, well, it's about her. Her whole demeanor changes. Baby, just give me a second. She's a guy doing her hair. And he's like, but I have to blow you out. And Mike says, it's okay. I'll keep my wife wet. Okay. We'll keep her wet.
Appropriate. The whole thing was just like if playing in your face had a photo next to it in the dictionary, that is Christine to Michael. She is playing in that man's face.
In his face, and he proceeds to tell her what's going on, and just like she was before, oh well, you got to take care of this. I'm going. You get down there to Indiana, handle up, and make it happen, because I know you want this marriage and I know you want this family, and I don't have to say anything else other than go make it happen.
One of the few times in history anyone has said, get down to Indiana. I want to
Ah! And when he crossed the border, he was like, "What?"
giddy, 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 giddy. So that's super interesting though. So you like you said, she kicks them out. She says, "Go handle this. Go to Indiana." And we see Michael like, well, they also, they hired a lawyer at this point, so he's going down there to handle business and meet with the lawyer, and he is giddy. He's elated to be back in Indiana, so much so that he's supposed to be there handling business, but he is spilling the tea with the lawyer, talking about how much he missed it and how happy he is to see his friends from Circuit City and how lonely he's been. And I literally wrote down the actor that plays Michael is really shining here because he's capturing the crazy. There's something crazy about Michael, and I don't know what unhinged is not right.
Yeah.
Crazy in terms of like childlike and can't connect the dots back to that dense thing because then the lawyer is another one that says, "Are you there?"
He said most people don't feel that way about a court order. But okay, not a lot of people feel that way about a court order. Michael's like, I'm getting this sense. He's like, I feel myself again. He's doing this doofusy, optimistic thing in there. He uses the term bull dink. Is that something that y'all use down there, child? Up there, I should say. What is that?
I've never heard that word before, but he does say bullying. But it's that, you know what really it is? It really is, now to go back to, it's not insanity. Michael is a simpleton. And I mean that with all
Yes,
the,
yes, yes,
like
yes,
you said, bullying, that's the kind of word that a simpleton person would use. There's
yes.
not a lot going on upstairs. And so, but I love that the lawyer is like, and also Michael is chowing down on donuts at this point. He's literally like a kid in a candy store. He's chowing down on donuts. He's like a child telling, their parent about their first day at school. Happy to be back, eating a donut. Everything's good. What's going on? And the lawyer has to basically say, "Do you have any evidence? Like, do you know this costs money? Do you have evidence that you're here to tell me that, like, why did y'all re-age her? Is what the lawyer wants to know. Why? On what grounds did you do that?" Michael's like, "Yo, we have plenty of evidence, bro. Plenty of evidence, bro. That's not even, you don't even got to worry about that." He texts his wife, Christine, and says, "Baby girl, that file that we have, that file on Natalia Grace, showing why we re-aged her, send me some, just take a photo of that and send it all over." And this is a fact, because they say it in all the other documentaries, is that Christine is not tech savvy. That is
Yep,
not something that they
did
lifted
that.
back. So when he's explaining to her how to literally take a photo and how to send it over to him, how to create an album, and yada yada yada. So she does that in like 3.5 seconds. Michael gets it. He's elated because again, he's really like feeling himself. He takes the phone. He's like, "Okay, yeah, these are cool." He does a mini swipe, if you will, through some of the documents and hands it over to the lawyer. What happens next?
The lawyer, who, by the way, has been doing these like niceties along with him. Oh, great. Okay, good. Sounds good. Have a donut. This whole thing. Scan, said, that's it. He literally said, that's it. That's all you got. And he says, well, I guess sometimes less is more. And then he goes, "Oh, whoa, sorry, bro," and hands Michael the phone. "I didn't mean to see that, but looks like you're out of the doghouse." And Michael's like, "What are you talking about?" And he sees pictures of Christine. And rather than being like, "Oh, whoa," and get excited, which we know he can be excited about, according to Christine, her photos, he is gobsmacked because he doesn't think those pictures are for him. He knows this lady is not tech savvy. She accidentally sent him some pictures because if they were for him, she would have sent them before. And he is so beside himself, so upset about these photos that he's like, "I don't think they're for me." Again, why are you telling this man all your business? "I don't think these are for me. We haven't really been intimate." And he starts to get out of his seat and throws up. Talk about simpleton. You're that upset that you throw up. It's free donuts on the table in the lawyer's office and we're throwing up. Pull yourself together.
Well,
Your life has been in shambles for all these years, and now you get a picture and you need to vomit on the table.
yeah, that's exactly what happened, Michelle. And so, yeah,
Very
Michael goes to gather himself because, like you said, he's beside himself. He knows that those photos were not for him. And he's sitting, at this point, he's really just trying to gather himself. He's sitting in the car.
Mhm.
He's trying to make a decision about what he's gonna do because he knows that those photos were not meant for him, and he's just. But you know what? He can't even. He's fumbling. He tries to call Christine. He doesn't even call Christine. She calls him.
Yes. Thank God, because he wasn't going to be able to do it. And she's like, what's good? What's the update? And he's like, well, I don't know. I was going through these files, but did you mean to send me those photos? She's like, she's in like some janitor's closet at some event with some hors d'oeuvres. And he's like, well, because did you mean to show them to the lawyer? And she's like, oh, dang. Um, and go ahead.
Have you ever been outsmarted by someone you know that is not smarter than you?
That's exactly what was happening.
Do you know that feeling that you have when you're like, oh my God, you got over on me? That was the feeling that she had in that moment of like she'd been playing that man like a viola, at a high school recital, and he's not falling for it. She got caught. She got caught.
Yeah. And of course she's not going to say it, but she's like, "Oh, well, they were for you, for your hard work on getting for going down there and taking care of all this." Well, I find that hard to believe. Then he's on 10, so then she's got to deal with her lies to assuage him, and then also deal with him being on a high, upset level and no, everything he throws out. Why are you picking a fight with me? That was the best she could do. Talk about gaslighting. Why are you picking a fight with me? Um, I don't even know how that ended, but he was saying, "I'm done here."
Yeah.
He said,
Well,
"I'm done here."
but you know why he said that he was done though? Because she basically like called his bluff because he was feeling high on the hog. But then
Yeah,
it's just like, well, she tells him to stop being dramatic, and he flips out.
yeah,
He's like, "Excuse me, dramatic. You don't know drama. I'm gonna show you drama." But then what happens is that she then says, you can't make it without me. You can barely get out of bed. You can't make a living. You're not going to leave me. You can barely get out of bed.
yeah.
He says,
She threw his mental health situation in his face.
and that was enough for him in that moment because she called his bluff basically. Going back to their whole dynamic. She's been leveraging sex. She's been leveraging a lot of things. In here, it's illustrated she's leveraging the money.
Yeah,
So my
yeah.
when he hangs up. And he goes to meet his friends from Circuit City.
His friends, plural, but ain't nobody there but that one gal. What's her name? Jennifer. He goes to meet all of them and sees that Jen is there. And she is so happy to see this man.
But Jennifer is, as I remember if we go back to the first episode of you and I talking, I said, why are they singling out this woman who's pregnant in the first episode? Like, why are they singling her out? Because I didn't understand what her significance.
Mhm.
Well, this was the woman in the first few episodes that Michael used to work with that was pregnant. And then
Yes.
fast forward later, he meets her at the bar. Like Michelle said, it was supposed to be a bunch of people, but it was just her. And the son that she has had is now 6 years old.
Yep.
Michael, again, is gobsmacked. Again, such a wonderful term for the way he's, acting, awestruck, gobsmacked. And he then starts to lose himself even more in time. And he's just like sitting there talking to her, pouring into her. She's pouring into him. And it does not take much besides one shot of cheap vodka. And he is telling her all about Christine and what's been going on and the lies. And you know what she says? What does she say to him? She says, what did she say to him?
And she said, I think her segue, or I should say, was um a moment of honesty, I think she said, or moment of truth. Never really cared for Christine. Called her the B word.
I love when people, she actually said, I've never been a fan of. I love when people say that. I've never been a fan of Christine. Love it.
Never been a fan of Christine. And he's like, tell me more. And she's like, well, whenever you talk about her, you get sad. And she's kind of a bee, and I don't like the way that she's treated you. And I want to tell you something else. He's so dumb. He doesn't see this coming a mile away. I want to tell you something else, but I have to make sure that it's absolutely over with her before I tell you this. And he's like, well, yeah, no, it's done. And she kisses him. And he's like, whoa, I never knew that there was anything here. Someone wants me and it's you. And oh my gosh. And I feel safe. And, he's thinking life is restarted. It's a new day for him.
Which is so weird that he could just be so lackadaisical about this. Just like I mean, at some point, there is a time of self-reflection, but like you went from having a family and then you adopted a child and that didn't work out. And now she's living on her own and y'all moved to Canada, but now you're breaking up with your wife. She's so easy, simpleton, for to hop from one situation to another without any type of ownership or what is the word I'm looking for? When people are, accountability. There's no accountability on Michael's part, ever, not ever.
He's very, very selfish, actually. He and Christine, he's very, very selfish because everything that he does is for him to feel comfortable, for him to feel good, for him to be happy, for him to have what he needs. Like, selfish is an understatement. And I don't think, well, no, I do think there is some arrogance there. Even in his simpleton ways, he has an arrogance about him because he always talks about what I needed to get my life on go together. I needed to get my family. I needed this. I needed this. And all to the demise of Natalia because he always put himself first. Both of them did. And whatever.
So yeah. So now they spend the evening making out, and we are then transposed to Natalia sitting in the dark. She's sitting in the kitchen and she's working on her letter because, again, like we said earlier, there's a court date coming up, and Natalia wants to use this opportunity to finally tell her side of the story. Cynthia walks in behind her, turns on the light, and she's like, "Well, baby, tell me what you've been working on." And Natalia shares, and Natalia is actually really very vulnerable in this moment, and she's very scared in this moment. And she's like, I'm reading, she reads the letter, and then she also says, well, Daddy always says, to use a joke, at church to win the congregation over. She throws a joke in there, and then she gets really sad because she's like, what if Michael and Natalia, what if Michael and Christine are there?
Mm.
We see Cynthia, again, a broken clock is right 2 times a day, Sean. She says, no, if they're there, Mama Bear will be here and I've got your back. And
Yeah.
that really gives Natalia the oomph that she needs to go forward and really read this letter with all of its vigor and truth.
Before we move on, Kendall, can I just say that Natalia's birthday was on September 4th? And you know what that day is?
Michelle, what is that, guy?
It's B-Day. And I started to think about if Natalia knew that she and Beyonce had the same birthday. And then I was like, 2003. B-Day album hadn't come out yet until I was in college. So, 9481 B-Day. That wasn't until like sophomore year in college, right?
No, actually, if you put it like that,
Huh?
maybe she does know. If you
No, she should know, but the world knew that that was Beyonce's birthday once she came out with that song, with that album, B-Day. Before you had to just kind of like know, but it was B-Day after she said it. So, at least if I'm recalling correctly. So we're a few years earlier than that, but I just thought, what's more important than that?
Mission one. I'm gonna put that. When you see,
Well, look here. Look here. Don't get me started, please. Cowboy Carter tour is coming soon.
wait,
Um, there, the
are
next thing is you go ahead.
you going?
You go.
No, are you going?
Oh, to the concert. I thought you meant moving along. I honestly don't know the dates, but let me tell you something. When I missed that last concert, it was Renaissance, right?
Oh, yes.
I looked myself in the mirror and I said, Michelle, you made a mistake like you've never made a mistake before. And do not look at me. Do not do it again. This is what I've told myself. Don't do it again. So the fact that you just asked me and my answer is not unequivocally yes, let's just go ahead and say yes. Yes, I'm gonna be there because I felt ridiculous for not going to that. That's all.
Hey. I'm with you real quick. We can talk about Beyonce. I've seen Beyonce 3 times, and I did not go to the Renaissance tour, but I'm actually right there with you. I should have went because it was an incredible album, and I feel bad that I did not go. To be honest, I have not listened to Cowboy Carter. I have it on vinyl. I have it twice. I think Beyonce is an incredible artist. I just don't like to listen to things while everyone else is listening to them. So I'm trying to give it
I
some.
know, Kendall. I know.
But if we're being quite honest, I'm on the same page as you. I should have gone to the Renaissance, and we probably should go to see Cowboy Carter. So that's just a little caveat, y'all. Sorry, but we should go.
Wait, while we're talking about Beyonce, when did you see her? Because I saw her at Howard in whatever the center is down in Chinatown for Dangerously in Love tour. What did you see?
I saw her with Destiny Child years ago.
Oh dear God. Oh, well, no, I saw her with Destiny Child too.
Yes,
I didn't think of, okay, that counts. You're right.
that counts.
What
Then
else did you see?
her on the run with Jay-Z,
When did you I didn't know you went to the On the Run. Where you were in Cali?
Pasadena, the Pasadena Bowl, and I was. I had a good time. We'll leave it there. I had a great time at that concert. I saw her at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. And yeah, and then I saw her again. Michelle, I saw her on the run one and on the run two. So I saw her twice. I saw her 3 times, but technically twice. I guess I've never seen her by herself. I've seen her with Jay-Z, and then Destiny's Child. So I've never seen her alone, but I've seen her. So that's why I was kind of like, maybe I don't need to see her, but the Renaissance tour was something else, and I really should have went.
Could have gone.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Well, do you think on this tour we gotta move on? But do you think since it's a country tour that she's gonna do the whole album country? Because I would like other things. That's the only thing where I'm just like, I don't know if I want to, because I don't know the album, you know?
It does. That's the thing. It doesn't matter. Shame on us.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what she does. Doesn't matter. I mean, I get it. Trust me, I get it. But it doesn't matter.
You're actually
I
right.
just need to get there.
To read Encyclopedia Britannica, and we'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Beyonce.
It
Okay.
doesn't matter. Let's move on. Okay. They're in the courthouse. And immediately you can tell that Natalia's lawyer is a little green, to say the least. I gave him at 26 at best. Did you give him older than that?
Oh,
1 to 2. It felt like a first time, second time situation in the courtroom in front of the judge. The Barnett. So go ahead.
well, shout out to all our public defenders out there because they're doing the Lord's work. But a lot of our public defenders are overworked and underpaid. And that's what it gave too. He's young, he's green, he's underworked and overpaid. That's what it gave. He was ill-equipped. He was prepared as he could be in the moment. But the other lawyer for the Barnetts just had more experience. He had history on his side. So he was
Yeah,
smooth, really just laying it down and winning.
yeah. And interesting how the ages and the experience, but since this is mostly about age of the two lawyers, was a dynamic that's kind of what is Natalia is experiencing. That the judge is looking at, okay, unexperienced lawyer, young man, more experienced, more mature man. I'm gonna teeter on the side of the more mature.
Yeah.
There's a you say you're a young girl, but these people that I trust say that you're an adult. So I'm gonna teeter more, on this side. So it's interesting how they play that. I don't know if that's what it looked like in real life, but it definitely served for the, you know, the themes. But it's not even that he wasn't yes, he wasn't, it wasn't that he was unprepared. It's just that he was so lacking confidence, that he didn't have the swag that the other guy had, that was needed in order to get this judge to listen. This judge looked at him like, why are you stuttering? Why you seem unsure? Why aren't you like presenting this with more confidence type thing? And that's really all he was missing, because everything he said needed to be said. But a part of the courtroom is the showdown, you know, the back and forth, the machismo situation. And he didn't have it, and it was unfortunate. But and speaking of age, the judge says, I know these millennials can't take care of themselves, but it doesn't make them all minors. And I'm like, wow, lay it on thick, why don't we? They really want us to think about ageism in this country and what it means and how people make decisions about it and how different generations feel about other ones. Anywho, I'm not inclined to overturn another court's ruling without knowing why. And Natalia's lawyer presents, what are those things called, Kendra? I just bought my husband one. Those portfolios. Is that what they are? Those
Yeah.
binder things with the little string on them. He's had tons of them saying these are all from all these different doctors saying this girl is a child, that she needs to be re-aged. And the Barnett's lawyer is like, I got a doctor right there.
So that's called the one up, right? Because that's what
Yes.
he one upped them and say, you got paper, I got a man right here.
I got flesh and blood right here. Come on up. He came up, he sat in the what is that, the witness stand or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I was her GP for all these years. That in and of itself is such a powerful statement, because no matter what goes on with your specialist, with this doctor, your chiropractor, it all comes back to the GP, as though the GP has been like cradling you since birth. He's like, so he really is reading a script that it feels like Christine wrote for him. She had this age facade thing. Was that facade of age? I can't remember the term. I wrote it down. Perpetuating her age, perpetuating an age something. And I found this, that, and the third. Basically, that girl is older, and what I said is what I said, and don't no need to change it. Then Michael comes in.
No,
Right.
hold on.
Yes, go ahead.
They have spent their entire time trying to discredit Natalia. And
Mm.
finally, finally, Natalia's turn to speak. They even call on Natalia and say, it's time for you to speak. She has the letter in her hand. She's getting ready to stand up. She stands up, and then Michael bursts with, walks into the room, daps up his attorney, and then doesn't pay any attention to Natalia. Natalia tries to say hello. He doesn't even look in her direction. And then the judge says, you know what, Natalia, hold off. Michael here. I want to hear from your daddy. He starts talking. So again, this is another instance where Natalia is being silenced, going back to ageism.
Yep.
She can't make decisions for herself, whether she's 8 or 22. They want to hear from the parents. They want to hear from the establishment. And, you know, also, this is the other thing that I think is very interesting here, too. This is an illustration of how the establishment can work against you if you're a disenfranchised individual. So that
Yes.
a younger person, that could look like a person of color, that could look like a woman, that could look like a handicapped person. The system is built and can be used against you at any flick of the wrist, just because that's the way it's built and it wasn't built for you. So we see that when he walks in late and gets a chance to talk before Natalia, who's been sitting there waiting her turn patiently.
Power dynamics on play, for real, for real. Power dynamics. And she was just about to say something. He comes in and goes, is this all right? Oh, yeah, yeah, no, no. Her lawyer gets trampled over. Okay. He's up there, and hey, you know, I wanted to say something. A lot of times, or throughout my life, I haven't spoken up. And my lawyer said I didn't need to be here today, but, and then I could just write my statement. And Kendall, he does this. And for our listening audience, he does like a wash my hands of it. You know how you just kind of dust your hands off, a little two patter. He said that I could just write a statement, be on my way. I wanted to come through the screen and choke this man when he did that. And at the same time, I thought that actor saw Michael Barnett do that and repeated it. More Michael than he has ever been Michael. This man has an idea that he can just put a bow on stuff, and he literally was showing it. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with Natalia. Just I'm done. Wipe her off. 1, 2. But I didn't do that. I decided to come in here late today, because I'm trying to speak up more in my life. We intend to stay on as Natalia's legal guardians to save other families from falling victim and to encourage a life of honesty that's best for her.
Uh, self-righteous and egotistical. And then he walks off like a model. They say thank you. He walks off. So then Natalia finally is like, and I say something, people. She doesn't say that, but like that's the feeling in the room. It's her turn to speak.
Yeah.
She musters after having the wind knocked out of her, she musters the strength, she stands up, and she's headed over to the witness stand to tell her story. And the judge says, no witness stand. You should stand right there because I made my decision. What?
You were lucky to have parents that care about you, and I won't be looking at this re-aging mess. Now, what do you have to say? Well, what the hell would she say? What is the point of saying anything at all?
Yeah. So she utters something about her joke that she tried to make, and then she balls up her paper and falls to tears, which is really like, hmm, yeah.
And
So
you know who's obviously is everyone is devastated. Her family is like, what in the heck? And Natalia's whatever. But you know who is most impacted? Not most impacted, but who's very impacted is Dule.
man,
Dule Drisdale, Detective Drisdale is like, hey, look, we can appeal. And Cynthia says, absolutely not. I am not putting her through this again. There will be no appeal. We are done with this. And again, you're like, okay, I know you don't want the girl to hurt, but this is what has to happen if you want to get something better for her. So then we've got a montage that Dule is narrating where he's with this beautiful baby girl that he's fostered with his wife.
and look, and you know what? I want to stop real here and just say one thing. I love the fact that they are giving this character some backstory. Like that makes me
Mhm.
so happy. A lot of times we see characters who are supporting and they happen to be black. They don't really get a backstory. We got a wonderful backstory here that illustrated his motivating factor, his driving force, why he does it. We got it in this moment.
And like you said, one of these times how they took that neighbor when she was in that apartment and bottled all those neighbors into one, you're getting the a previous like adoptive mother or potential adoptive mother who really wanted her, or some of the neighbors who were like, how could they do that to a child? They made him rich so that you could hear the collective voices of the people who knew this was wrong and wanted to advocate for her. And I agree. I think that it was perfect to do this for him because you see, oh, wait, this is a loving man. This is a sensible man. You haven't seen many adults with their heads on right. You haven't seen many adults doing the right thing. And this is the first time in his presence that we're going to see a slew of adults who are like, no, we told them. So anywho, before I get there, he says, I thought about what would happen to my little girl who we have been fostering and we fought hard to get her and we finally got her and love her like crazy. I could not think of imagine abandoning her, her living somewhere by herself, her being all that through all that Natalia went through. And that is the reason that I could not sleep at night until I investigated this further. I said I would let it go, but I just couldn't. So, Did he go and visit the doctor that we knew first?
Finally pays off though, because he's doing his research. He's doing his due diligence as a detective.
Yeah.
3D, due diligence detective. And he finds that the paperwork from the once she's released from the
Psych ward.
asylum does not match what this GP has been saying. So he
Right.
goes to pay him a visit.
He pays him a visit, Kendall, and uh he's fresh on lunch, having some spaghetti from home. And he's asking him questions like, yeah, so I was just wanting to, tie up some loose ends. What's going on with this Barnett case? Oh, I didn't really have anything to do with that. Oh, but what about the re-aging? Oh, I had nothing to do with the whole re-aging process. Okay, didn't you
So bad because the Barnetts are such good people, good people.
weren't you at the court case and testified that you were her GP? Oh, well, no, I just meant, I had been the GP for all the family for over years. And what I meant was I'm the one that sent them off to these specialists, and those specialists said she wasn't a child. And I just wrote up what the specialist said. That's all I did. Um, And he starts to, Dulay's line of questioning, and chime in, Kendall, if you know specifics, but his Dulay starts line of questioning makes the doctor wonder, am I liable for something here? Did I do something wrong? And he said, I don't know just yet, but let's see about this stuff.
And the doctor actually says, I actually always thought she was a kid. He said that. He said, I always thought she was a kid. He says that.
He
Um,
did say that.
but I didn't have anything to do with her re-aging. I was just trying to help out the Barnetts because they're such good people. And then that's when the detective pulls from his bag of tricks, challenges him. He says, well, that can't be true because this is what it said after she was released from the mental ward, the mental hospital. It says A plus B equals C, and that she never, ever had her period, ever. So
Yep.
somebody's lying here. And that's when he says he literally chokes on that dry spaghetti that he was eating for lunch. And then that's when he asks, is he going to be in trouble? That's when he says, can I be liable? Can I be held liable here? So much so Dulé pulls back. This is a good detective. Pulls back and says, "You know what? I don't know, player, but just tell me about some of those other specialists that you were talking to." Because he wants to get off the hook, the doctor. And
Yep.
Dulé's like, "Let me build a case." And no one in their right mind would do what this doctor, this GP does. He gives all of the information of the specialist that he says helped build the case to re-age Natalia. But when Dulé goes to interview all of these specialists, what happens?
The specialists, one by one, give an account of their findings, which is that Natalia is a child. The one lady says, I told Christine that dwarfism can cause, some maturing where pubic hair is not unusual, but her levels are what is it, prepubescent, I think is the term she used. Somebody else. No, she was a child. Nope, nope, she was a child. No, her teeth said she was a child. And he ends up with this doctor. The doctor that he ends up having the most conversation, was she the dentist? Kendall, which doctor was she?
She was not the dentist. She was someone else. She was a specialist, though, but she
Yeah.
was the dentist because she talked about other things. She was not the dentist.
She was okay. Well, anywho, she says we explicitly said that's so funny, Kendall. You said player. My notes said to Dule to the doctor, player, I saw you at the hearing. we, we
They
were thinking this.
somebody's lying. So player, stop. That's what player means. Player, quit.
Anywho, everybody says she's been Christine was obsessed with her age and she kept perpetuating an age facade. And the doctor says everyone who met Natalia was concerned for Natalia's well-being. She says we were very explicit. I wrote the doctor and to the GP, and I sent an emergency letter to the county court. Drisdale is dumbfounded. He's like, wait a minute, y'all told that man. Oh, well, first of all, you told the Barnetts and then you told the GP. So the questioning, correct me if I'm wrong, Kendall, the question still remains, then how did the lie get written up by the GP? And I think we haven't uncovered yet that maybe the Barnetts just falsified all of the
No, they
documents.
no, he said he did it. He said I sat with the Barnetts and just wrote it up because they were I keep going back to that because they were such nice people. He said he just wrote it up. He did it.
But did he write it up without looking at what the people did? Because that's what Dule says. I can't think of anybody in their right mind who would point me to people who undermine
He did say
what I'm
that.
about to say.
Yeah. He
So
did.
that's why I'm wondering, maybe he never saw it.
No, he saw all of it. And that's the baffling thing about this.
Yeah,
Going back, because they were such nice people and because he's worked with them for so long,
he just did it.
all of those things and still signed because Christine told him to. That's what happened.
You know what they also did, Kendall? They added a layer of, I dare say, senility. Because he also didn't seem to be all the way there. Like, either he was so confident in his lie when he would tell him, oh, but I had nothing to do with the re-aging business, completely unaware that the detective was in the courtroom. And then he would call him on, and he was like, but it was almost like he wasn't
All the way there.
all the way there. Anywho, that is still crazy to me that he wrote a note, even though all the evidence was right there. Um, so are we moving on?
Yeah.
Because Dule is gonna go to trying to get Natalia some representation, trying to get this thing overturned. He goes to a lawyer, another person having their lunch. This, snacks on snacks on snacks this episode, okay? We got soda pops, we got Dr. Pepper 7-Ups, we've got donut buffets, spaghetti, and this sandwich that this lady is eating. It's lunchtime in Indiana.
Think at this point he goes to the DA because he's trying to
Yeah,
say,
yes,
and he's
yes.
telling the DA like, I've got all these things, and like you said, she's on lunch and she can't be bothered, and she says, you don't have anything, you don't have any sauce for my sandwich, you don't have any ketchup for my fries. What you need is you need to have one of the Barnetts say they knew that she was not of age and they did it. You need to do that. And again, Dule's like, the detective is very much like, well, how am I supposed to do that? How many needles in a haystack can I find? But lo and behold, what does he do?
The DA tells him, actually, I did a little research and and they're not both in Canada right now. Daddy came home to Indiana. He's beside himself. Christine has tarnished his character. And if I were him, I would be holding a grudge. Dule says, well, look at that.
Look at
And
it.
he goes and pays Michael a visit, and you see now how we got to the very beginning with Dule interviewing Michael. And Michael, again, you even then we didn't have all the details, but you get the sense that Michael just feels like this is his boon coon, that he can tell this man everything, he's on his side. And now we see, nope, indeed, Dule came there specifically for one thing,
Yeah.
to get this man to admit that he knew Natalia was a child.
Simple.
And
And what does he do?
well, he's successful. um, he comes up and they're drinking Sprites. Kendall, help me with this. We'll get to what is pot kettling me. I need a dictionary to deal with these Indiana bull dinks and dun-dunners and all these other, what is
Gun hunters is so funny. Pot kettling me. I assume I've never heard that phrase before, but like it's the pot, the phrase pot.
pot calling the kettle black?
So pot kettling me is basically him saying like she is making it, she's making it seem like I'm the one that's doing something when she's the one that's doing it.
Okay. I figured as much, but I was like, let me just ask the Indiana person before I get too up in here. But Michael, what's his name? Dule is like, hey, um, asking Michael some tough questions. And Michael is kind of like pausing, taking those pregnant pauses because they seem like questions that are gonna indict him, get him in some trouble. And so Dule is like, hey, man, if you, because he's hasn't seen his kids in months or maybe years at this point, if you have some things that could make a case for Christine losing custody of those kids, bro, you got to tell me. And Michael thinks about this and he's like, it's worth it because he wants nothing more than to see his boys. So he takes a pause and he says, Christine beat Natalia.
Mm. But
And
not
the
that. He doesn't even say, he doesn't stop there. He goes the extra mile.
Oh, yes. And Drisdale is taken aback and he's listening. He's about, I mean, I'm not talking open-handed. I'm talking about fists, wham. And when she got tired, it was elbow time saying, who are you? Who are you? She thought that she could beat the truth out of her. And Drisdale is like, what truth? What is she trying to beat out of her? She was obsessed with her age. She was obsessed with her age, and the doctors had been telling us she was a child. Skirt.
Yeah, the record skipped.
You said what now?
The record skipped right there in that moment.
No, I heard you. Dule is like, you said what now? Wait, so y'all knew? Michael takes another pause. Hey man, hey man. And Dule pulls out another trick. Hey man, look, if she was abusing her, you have got to take her because what could she be doing to those boys? You were trying to help Natalia. If Christine was abusing her, then she should not have those kids. Michael gets a little bit more courage. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. Um, she committed child abuse. You were trying to help. This is going to help you get the boys. So did y'all know? Michael says, yes, we knew.
And just like that, Dule got what he wanted. And just like that, Michael feels proud. And just like that, Michael walks into the house and tells his new wife, Jennifer from Circuit City, what he's done. And this is another time in the episode that a woman has had to ask him, are you okay? Because he's self-righteous, indignant, talking about all of the things that Christine's going down. I told him this, I told him that, I told him all the things, and it's gonna be so good for us. And I'll get a chance to see the boys. And she just looks at him puzzled. She's like, but you know that's a bad thing for you, right? He's like, how? And she says, oh, because if if you're saying that she knew and you're painting it on her, first of all, she says, you told me that never happened. So that's
Yes.
a break right there, actually. So, first of all, she's perplexed by him even coming in and saying this to her. She's surprised because this is a first, her husband is saying this.
Yes.
Moves past that, and she realizes that he doesn't realize what he's done.
And
Yeah.
she is genuinely, Kendall, uh, I don't even know what taken aback. I've already used the word gobsmacked, but she realizes in that moment that she is married to a man that abandoned a child, knowing that the child was a child. And you can just see all of her decisions flashing before her eyes. I pursued this man. I married this man. My kids are around this man. I was going to live a life with this man, and he just confessed to me that he is an abuser and an abandoner of a child. and thinks that everything is okay.
But then it clicks for Michael too. And he gets it because she says, this is gonna look bad on you too, Michael. Like you can't just put all of this on her. This is gonna look bad on you. And he has an epiphany as well in that moment. So after all of this, we now are transposed and we find Christine in court. She finally has her day in court because Michael has told on her. And she's in court. She's going. She walks in the mediation room. She has her lawyer, who's black, by the way. Shout out to this casting. And we have Michael and his lawyer. But we also have Michael's wife in this meeting. And Christine is actually a little annoyed. She says, oh, this is for family only. And Michael's wife is like, Jennifer's like, oh, no, I am family. She decides to let it pass because there's bigger fish to fry. Christine is playing chess and not checkers here. And Michael is constantly playing checkers.
Yes, he is constantly playing checkers. Checkers Junior's child.
Yeah.
The kids' meal version where you only got a small little board. Bless his heart. She has come with her game face on, and her lawyer has told her how to play the game, because when she makes that comment about only family, she looks at the lawyer and the lawyer looks at her like, remember what we're playing. We're playing angelic Christine. We're playing reasonable Christine. We're playing sensible and caring, loving Christine. And it starts in this courtroom because the lawyer by now has learned that Christine can control Michael.
Yep.
And in order for her to get Michael right now, she's got to be loving and sweet, manipulating Christine so that she can get what she wants. Christine has also stated, what kind of moron confesses to a crime he didn't commit? So she's, even before she gets to the lawyer, she is sticking to her story.
Yep. The wife, though, then says, well, what kind of sense does it make to align yourself with your abusive ex? The new wife is really upset about this. And again, it goes back to that moment of you were saying how she's realized she's made a mistake. She's trying to stick with her man, but she realizes that Christine has an ungodly hold on Michael in that moment. She realizes that in that moment that
Yeah.
she can't compete.
Yeah.
So they all agree. Christine fires back, says, I was wrong. I'm sorry. And we just need to work together and we need to get through this. She's manipulating Michael, is what I wrote. And
For
the
the boys. We want what's best for the boys. That's what she's dangling over his head. And Michael can't look at nobody in the face. He can't look to the right at his wife. He can't look over here, can't look over there. And he finally says, you're right. He wants his boys. And so whatever Christine says,
he's gonna do.
he's he's gonna do. And the wife was right to be like, why would aligning himself with an abuser be advantageous? But both lawyers are in agreement that though the cases are separate, it is better for them to be united. And you see them go on a tour, a press tour, united.
Well, here's the thing. They get that pre-evidence. They get the fact that Natalia's lawyers have now put her on video and she's telling her side of the story. And the lawyer says, well, we can tell our side of the story too. We just have to be louder than her.
Mhm.
And that's when you see, like you said, them going on press tour after press tour after press tour, discrediting, discounting, and discouraging Natalia Grace. That is what they are doing to her.
And slandering.
And yes, and they're doing it unitedly,
Yeah.
doing it together.
Yes. Then, Kendall, after this big old press tour, we see Natalia on a couch, a big comfy couch of her own with her two parents doing her own little press here. And you hear the voice of either Dr. Phil or Bill Clinton saying, now, Natalia, here's, here's your opportunity. Tell us. Were you a 22-year-old scan artist or an 8-year-old child left for dead?
This is where we come together. This is what people don't know. Like this is when Texas and Indiana finally come together. Because
Can't for the life of me understand you.
Dr. Phil's from Texas and they're from Indiana. We finally come together.
We are family.
Our family. And so it is with her telling her story. But you know what I noticed in this moment that was so cool and so clever and so great, which is actually true. They have in this moment, and through kind of like when they started showing that video, they've aged Natalia in the perfect way. She's wearing glasses,
Mhm.
more mature. She's probably, realistically 13 years old, maybe when this is so 13, 14, 15, something around that time. She's a teen, a preteen. And you could see that she's now sort of coming into her own and ready to tell her own story without being bulldozed. And so I like that. I like how they have her matured and really ready to start to take on the Barnetts.
Well, look here. This was in 2020, so she was 17.
Oh gosh, there you go. I
It's
mean,
February 2020.
yeah, she's 17 years old, so she's more mature now. She's ready to tell her story, and yeah, they end this episode of Dr. Phil with "I do anything for love, but I won't do that" by Meatloaf,
Yeah.
which is a very interesting song choice.
Yeah. That's probably what brought me back to Love Shack.
Uh, that song choice?
I don't know. Okay. It had something to do with love. There was love. Love was a motivating factor for a lot. For the detective,
For the detective,
for Michael who loves his kids,
for the man's.
for the man's, maybe some other stuff too. But you do get the sense that they're trying to do right for Natalia. More to come on that, but
Yeah. So we're episode 7 of 8, Michelle.
I know I just can't. I mean, there's obviously a season two, right? I mean, there's obviously a season two. There's no way you can wrap up what is to come in one more episode. There's definitely a season two.
But you know what I was thinking? It's funny that you say that and you put it in that word, like we're on the precipice of something. But I was thinking, like, Natalia's watching this too. So
I know.
look at you. You got like, look, yeah. Natalia's watching this too. So it's funny that we say, how can they wrap it up when the story itself is not even wrapped up? Like, that's the funny thing about, not haha funny, but the more ironic thing about the way they're telling the story is like, she's alive and well and living, and her story continues. So I think it's one thing to have something written about you after you've passed on, you've gone to the next, part of life. You went to see the Lord, but it's something else completely different to like be in the moment and see your story unfold on TV, like the Fantasia Barrino story after she won American Idol and they realized, they revealed she couldn't read. Like, what is that about?
Yeah.
Seeing it in real time is different than like, and she's relatively young. So I think it's not about wrapping it up in a bow for these producers and for this story. It's about encapsulating the moments that were in this part of the story. They have no interest in wrapping it up. They have an interest in diving in and
Yeah.
seeing what this part of Natalia's life was like.
Which is why I think there's going to be a season two. And you're right about it because I mean, it's five that Dr. Field things was 5 years ago. That's it. That was just 5 years ago. So it's fresh and we will see what else unfolds, child.
Are you unpacked?
That was unpacked. We unpacked that. We unpacked that. We unpacked that well. Time to put the clothes away.
So where are we? This is unpacking the. I want you to name it. I'm gonna ask you after you've had some time to sit with it and think about it, and you called it the Love Shack, like they were the B-52s. What is this? We are unpacking the.
Okay, I've got soda pop and snacks. Kendall, he was making spaghetti at the end. They didn't even think beyond the spaghetti. The doctor was eating spaghetti, and then Michael was making the spaghetti. And then they zoomed in on the al dente noodle, like all of a sudden becoming non-al dente and falling. They were saying something about snacks. Do you understand what I'm saying? When they came back to the meditation, the mediation room, there were more donuts, the same ones that he had vomited on. There's snacks on pop on snacks.
I love it, Michelle. I love it. So we are unpack episode 7, unpacking the snacks. I love it. Well, we're unpacked.
We're unpacked.
All right, guys. Make sure you tune in next week for more Unpacked with Michelle Elaine Official and Kendall Antron. We're excited to wrap up the next episode in this season. So you can look forward to more hot takes, more unpacking, and more laughter. So thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Good night.
All right. Good night, guys.